Round 2 of the 2016 FF1M Championship, and we go to Brazil for the Brazilian Grand Prix and the Autodromo José Carlos Pache circuit in Sao Paulo. And I'm delighted to be joined by a team boss who has been in FF1M since the very beginning. It's Gajero Autosport's Guy Cramer. How are you doing?
Hello folks. Hello James, I'm doing well. Hope you're doing well, and everyone watching this, get ready for 52 minutes of pain.
Certainly for FJR's case, it'll be 52 minutes of hell, judging by the first race, but a quick recap of that first race, the Australian Grand Prix at Melbourne, and we saw Nico Rosberg do the Grand Slam pole position, fastest lap and victory from the two Mitchells of Cooper Lee and Lewis Hamilton, all three powered by your Mugen engine. And from your perspective, how do you feel your race went?
I think it went okay overall. Definitely benefited from some folks with clearly better aero development, like retiring and having issues with their reliability. But it was a bit of a wake-up call. It's like, okay, the car will be fighting for top 5 in both drivers' championships and hopefully the team championship. And Nico definitely surprised everyone.
Especially with his qualifying pace, because he was 3/4 of a second quicker than it was Cooper Lee. No, it was Lewis Hamilton on the front row in Melbourne.
Cooper surprised everyone too. That was, I would say, the biggest highlight.
Absolutely, and Rosberg has done it again, 31st career pole position, and he's got a tornado alongside him, the Argentine Thomas Gonzalez. Second row, Lewis Hamilton, and a standout performance from Daniel Ricciardo, who did race well in Melbourne. He went from 7th to 4th. Row 3, we see Sergio Perez and Valtteri Bottas together. Better effort from Valtteri Bottas in the GRM, which wasn't very competitive in Melbourne. Then it's an all-Exolite row 4 with Fernando Alonso 7th and Romain Grosjean in 8th. Neither of those two had good races in Melbourne. And in Cooper Lee down in 9th, but Mitchell are running the hard tyres, and he's joined by Antonio Felix da Costa in 10th. Then we've got Carlos Sainz in 11th and home hero Felipe Massa in 12th for the Meister. 13th on the grid is Sebastian Vettel in the Shake and Bake alongside Kimi Raikkonen. Vettel not qualifying well, but he stayed out of trouble in Melbourne to finish 6th. Then we've got Nicholas Latifi doing quite well for himself in 15th ahead of Stoffel van Dorn, whose Willows was very uncompetitive in Melbourne. Then it's an all Gajera row 9, so not a great qualifying for yourself, but could be worse. FJRs are down in 20th and 22nd. And of the remaining places, Max Verstappen 19th and 21st is the other shake and bake of Itsuki Yoshida.
Yeah, I'm surprised we got the grid that far up. I honestly thought we'd finish the grid and my team would still be in the previous round, but yeah.
Well, one interesting thing I noticed, and we'll get onto that in a moment, was to do with the fastest laps of Melbourne, because Verne was only half a second slower, and, well, quickly race start as Nico Rosberg gets away from pole position. Caught me by surprise there, and alongside him into the first corner, Thomas Gonzalez is going to tuck in behind the Pedersen driver through the Senna S.
We seem to have a clean start.
The two FJRs battling for last at the moment, but Rosberg leads from Gonzalez, Hamilton, Ricciardo, then Perez, Bottas, Alonso and Grosjean completing the top 8, but we've got Bottas challenging for Perez already, and there's Alonso as well challenging.
We got some Meister action on the back too, but so far so clean.
So far so clean.
We'll see how that goes as we get to the twisted bits, and I think the biggest factor on top of the free practice 2 setups are going to be tires. Definitely the tires.
Yes, and suspect that from the fastest lap charts of Melbourne, Rosberg went quite heavy on qualifying, maybe tyres, maybe setup qualifying, because his fastest race lap then was only less than 10th, quicker than Cooper Lee in the Mitchell. So, Pedersen favouring qualifying, particularly with Rosberg.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how Hamilton performs on the hards.
Yes, on the hard tyres, Hamilton. as is Cooper Lee, as is much of the field actually. Well, majority going for the hard tyres, but 6 going for mediums, 6 going for softs, as through the first few corners Bottas looks as if he's going to become under pressure from Grosjean, who himself has got Cooper Lee quite rampant behind him. Here comes Grosjean. Up the inside into, and forgive me for my pronunciation, Descida de Lago, if that's correct.
It could be worse.
It could be worse.
It's Descida do Lago.
Descida de Lago. As we see Kubica versus and the Willows going off the track, and there's contact between the two, and more contact with the wall, this time with the Willows, but Kubica's gotten away undamaged. It's Stoffel van Dorn. So once again, Willows getting themselves into bother very early in the race, because we saw Verstappen and Magnussen have a bit of an incident early in the race, and that caused the retirement of the young Max.
But as you saw there, Kubica was able to stay on the race. That's because Gojira upgraded from cardboard paper aero parts to wooden pieces. So slow improvements surely coming along.
Not just in the aerodynamics, but in the rigidity as well. And there was at one point as well where Courtney accused my engine of having Flintstone power, and then immediate karma when he saw his Megatron blow up. So that was a funny little moment as Rosberg versus Gonzalez. This is going to be a battle for the lead. Gonzalez looks quick at this stage.
Yeah, definitely the Tornado, one of the teams that started the early 2016 car development in the previous season, and the aero, not only the aero but the tires showing here. But we'll see how that lasts.
Potentially ERS as well, because Gonzalez might well be running higher ERS system, and as a result he's powered past Rosberg to take the lead into Descida de Lago. Now he's in Laranja and into Pinheirino.
Or as the locals might call it, Pinheirinho.
Pinheirino, it's a little pine tree, isn't it?
Yep. Or another Brazilian soccer player to come up.
Into the Junção corner, which leads you onto the long main straight, one of the best places for overtaking. And through the final corner, Rosberg's still quite close, so he may do something about Gonzalez into the first corner, but he might not quite have enough of a slipstream. But lap 4, we have a Tornado in the lead, 0.4 of a second over Nico Rosberg.
Yeah, we have to see how the car performs, because we got an overtake going on.
That's Kubica versus Magnussen. That's Gojira versus FJ into the first corner. This could be awkward if Magnussen doesn't play ball, but that's not too bad actually. But yeah, it's clear that, well, just looking at front actually, Hulkenberg is up at the back of Yoshida going down the Retta Aposta and into Descida de Lago. What's the power like? Not great, as Yoshida chops back in front of Hulkenberg.
Now let's give praise where praise is due. We're on lap 5 now and no cars have blown up yet, so congratulations to all of the teams.
Yeah, reliability was a lot better than expected as Grosjean looks to make a move on Perez, and I think he's got it. Grosjean up into 6th place, Alonso up to 5th, so both Excelites up from their grid slots. Yeah, reliability was a lot better than expected. Perez having a go back at Grosjean at the very next lap.
Medium versus softs.
Only one retirement one mechanical retirement in the Australian Grand Prix, and that was Alonso, blowing up with just a few laps to go. Look at this, Grosjean versus Perez. I think this is the replay of how Perez will get back ahead. Through turn 4, very clean. And we've got, teammates going into battle for 19th place, Magnussen versus Hulkenberg.
It's a good thing Magnussen is well known in real life for being a very clean driver that doesn't cause any problems at all, so this should be fine.
Absolutely, yes. I don't recall any incidents between these two in their careers.
Me neither.
But up the inside goes Magnussen, and into 19th place goes Kevin Magnussen. Now, can he do something about Yoshida in front? And similarly, can Grosjean do something about Perez? We're in the twisty middle sector now.
I think he's definitely going to... there is no passing opportunity, but we're definitely going to see going to the Senna S curve.
two main places to overtake on this circuit, the Senna S and the Descida de Lago. And just behind Grosjean, it's Cooper Lee in 8th place, and Bottas has dropped down to 10th, so his initial good qualifying, he's not been able to maintain it so far, as he's dropped from 6th down to 10th. But here comes Grosjean versus Perez, two of the class of 2010. Three drivers made their race debut in the 2010 season. Here's two of them, and about to go into battle. They actually collided with each other in the last race as well.
That was interesting seeing the blue car of Tornado having the red target on its back and also on its front.
The GOAT is about to make an overtake on the Meister. Going into Descida de Lago, that's Latifi versus Massa. That's 12th place for the other Pedersen driver. So he's on the move. Next target, Sainz in 11th.
I think this speaks well to Pedersen because they're running 20 ERS at most, and they got a harder compound.
Latifi's on the mediums at the moment, and against the Meisters on the hards. They've been...
In that case, then, forget it.
Forget it.
Let's see, Jev.
That's Jev. Chasing Felipe Massa for 14th. Raikkonen's got ahead of Massa. Can Verne do the same at some point?
Expect him to close up when early in the lap, sector 1 with the main straight, and then as we had the straights on the engine power, but then to lose that going into the corners.
Through the Pinarino goes Jean-Eric Verne, and you can see even from there it's just a quicker car than the Meister through the corners, so it's not all too bad, and I was expecting Meister to struggle a little bit this season, I must admit. Now let's see the power. Up the hill, and I believe this kink's called Subida dos Boxes, and then through the final left kink. I might be getting this one wrong because it's quite a long word. Arquibancadas, which means bird grandstands.
Arquibancada.
Arquibancada, yeah.
And interesting to see the move there from... Is that the Exolite?
That is a Gajera being passed by one of the Shaker mix. That's Sebastian Vettel passing Verne.
Looks like the Gajera is slowing down a little bit.
You were saying that I was going to get the Exolite and the Gajera confused, and you've gone and done that, as Verstappen now has a look at Verne into Descida de Lago, and the Willows looking not too bad in the hands of Verstappen, as Perez versus Grosjean once again. Through the final kinks.
Definitely going for the inside.
It's not the best place to overtake, but Grosjean's got some power underneath him at this very moment, so I suspect Exolite might have gone fairly aggressive with the ERS. There is a 69% limit that Megatron have set on its customers.
And a 100% chance that it's being used.
Yeah, knowing James Whiteley, he's all power, early shower.
Although I do believe the Tornado is also pushing the ERS number quite high. So maybe a little concerning to Tobias to see perhaps a high ERS not managing to stay ahead of another customer car.
Maybe so. And that was a confirmed overtake from Grosjean on Perez. Now we'll just quickly elaborate on that class of 2010. Grosjean, Perez and Hülkenberg made their debuts at the 2010 Australian Grand Prix and have since done 107 races. This is all their 108th race since making their FF1M debut, and I don't know, it's just a little thing I'm interested in keeping an eye on.
Yeah, and I must say I forgot everything about that.
Now, can Perez do something about Grosjean once again? That Exolite doesn't look as stable as expected through the Senna S, and is that going to give Perez an opportunity going down Retta Aposta?
Yeah, that's definitely going to make the position. Or collide. Or nothing.
Or brake early and lock up. So that's given Grosjean the break.
And also put the Mitchell in the picture.
The Mitchell of Cooper Lee down in 8th place at the moment. As we look at the two GRMs together, that's Bottas and Sainz. This is for 11th place, and there's a Meister of Kimi Räikkönen not too far behind. It's Bottas on the softs and Sainz on the mediums, and at this stage it looks as if Sainz has the quicker car. Maybe Bottas went for some tyre preparation, which got him up the order, but seems to be slipping back, and he's trying to defend, more out of pride than anything, as Sainz rockets up the inside and takes that 11th place off of his teammate. Now, Bottas, very clean move, and surely becoming under pressure from Kimi Räikkönen. Can the climax power past the Megatron? Well, it's not doing too badly at the moment, and surely that's going to be 12th place for Kimi Räikkönen.
That doesn't speak very well to the soft tire compounds. My guess is inadequate development, perhaps?
Maybe. The GRMs were running hards exclusively for the pre-season test, so could be undeveloped. Could be undeveloped softs, or could be, as I said, the tyre preparation.
The good old spreadsheet trick.
Yeah, could be so. It's Latifi versus Acosta. Latifi is looking pretty good in this race because he's challenging for 9th place. And in the kink, that's... you always fear an accident going through there.
It's a good way of losing the left side of the car.
And through the Senna S. And next opportunity for the Canadian through the exit of the Curva du Sol into the slipstream of the customer climax Andrew Racing. And trying to get up alongside. How much is the Andrew Racing running? By the looks of that.
He might back off. Yep.
And he hangs on. Now then, take number 2. Up the inside this time into Senna S. Can Latifi do it this time?
Very close. He's got it.
He's got it. Up to 9th place goes Nicholas Latifi. Now, how far back from Cooper Lee is he? I think I just saw it on the top left. 7.5 seconds.
Now Sainz is going for the move.
Sainz versus Da Costa for 10th place going into Descida de Lago. But he's going to hang on, is Da Costa. But certainly not quite as quick in this stage of the race. Into my favourite named corner, Ferradura, the horseshoe. And I think it probably refers more to the 70s Interlagos when it was 5 miles long, because the old Ferradura was in the shape of a horseshoe.
Yeah, the previous circuit was very twisty inner bits.
But much, much longer, kind of like a oversized go-kart track.
Yeah, the first corner was pretty much a straight.
Just a couple of very fast left-hand kinks.
Yep.
And the battle for 10th continues on the main straight, and once again, there's nearly a massive accident through the final kink, and he's going to have to wait, is Sainz. Going to have to wait until the exit of Curva du Sol, and into Descida de Lago. Do a quick recap, because we've just about hit 1/4 distance, and it's Thomas Gonzalez who leads 3.8 seconds from Rosberg. Let's just pause that thought as Sainz once again challenges, and once again Da Costa just about hanging on. Hamilton 3rd, 5.2 seconds behind Gonzalez, race leader. Ricciardo 4th, doing very well, 6.8 seconds off the race lead, and Alonso 8 seconds off in 5th place. Then we've got Grosjean, Perez and Lee completing the top 8. And potentially a 4-car scrap coming soon for 10th place.
This would be interesting. We got hard and medium compounds fighting for it with a Meister sandwich.
And the soft tyre at the back of that group in Valtteri Bottas. Just trying to see the rest of the order as well, but let's have another look at Sainz. Hanging back this time through the final kink, which means he's got a much better chance going into the Senna S. Can he brake late? Can he do something about Da Costa? Still side by side, but he's got him. Carlos Sainz up into 10th place. Now can he set off after Latifi, who's opened up a 4.3 second gap? Or is Da Costa going to come back at him? Very aggressive defence there from Sainz.
Raikkonen could have benefited from that. And the first round of pit stops coming along.
2 and 3 in the pits. That's Rosberg and Hamilton in what is quite a long pit lane. And at the end of lap 19, the quick graphic on the intro screen was suggesting 2 stops all around. So this is quite early for the 2-stop strategy.
We'll see how that pays off or not.
Usually the new tyres benefits quite well. So Rosberg and Hamilton could do something about those, and Hamilton's jumped him.
Oh, interesting.
The advantage of having an earlier pit garage is what's caused Hamilton to jump Rosberg. Same as the first round of stops in Melbourne, Lee did jump Rosberg. But then Rosberg was able to overcut Cooper Lee in the second round of stops. So where's that put them? That's put them 13th and 14th.
14th and 14th.
Quite a way down, but with everyone on 2 stops and Hamilton right in traffic. That's behind Felipe Massa, so that's going to help Gonzalez if he's going to take his first career FF1M win.
Let's see how patient Hamilton may be.
Yeah, he's going to have to wait until the end of this lap and into the Senna S. And I think, looking at the fuel, I think he took on 31 laps of fuel, so he's going to lap 50.
So the last stint will be like the first stint.
Yes, a very long middle stint for Hamilton, as into the pits comes Romain Grosjean. Into the box, which is actually the last in the pit lane, because Exolite did finish last in the championship in 2015, and that's Latifi into the pits as well.
I'm sure Exolite is really enjoying this part of the broadcast. They're being reminded of where they finished.
Yeah, he wasn't too pleased with the Australian Grand Prix result. Alonso did lose 4th in the latter stages, and Perez and Grosjean were disputing 6th when they had their little incident. That was a whole lap behind Felipe Massa that Hamilton's had to spend because he did not get past into Senna S or Descida de Lago, and now he's got Nico Rosberg right behind him.
I suspect he may be defending as well from potentially Rosberg. My guess is he went on the inside of the pit lane and had to back off and lost all of the time.
I suspect so, and into the pits.
Oh, they're pitting now. Okay. That makes life easier for him.
But does it though, because here comes Nico Rosberg challenging up the inside going into the Senna S. Is Rosberg going to retake the initiative over his best mate? Yes, he is. And at the moment that's 6th place for Rosberg, but the top 5 all have pit stops to make.
Again, 2 drivers known in real life to have absolutely no issues with each other, showing the same on track.
Oh, it's been clean. Pure clean racing between those two in their history. As into the pits, this is an important pit stop for Thomas Gonzalez. First pit box, as Tornado won the Constructors last time out. We'll go a new set of softs and slight delay as Fernando Alonso.
Slight delay.
Alonso was making his way into the pits. So temporarily Ricciardo takes the lead of the race. And out of the pits in this very, very long pit exit comes Gonzalez. Now, where's the pit lane speed limit button? I think we've already passed it. I think Gonzalez is pretty much safe ahead of Rosberg anyway, but right in front of Sainz. But on the newer tyres, I'd expect him to pull away a little bit.
I wonder how Ricciardo is going to do this race, because he was a surprise of the first round.
Yeah, I think the Andrew is quite a good car, it seems, because Da Costa wasn't performing too badly either, as Kevin Magnussen comes into the pits. And now Daniel Ricciardo.
He just didn't feel like leading the race. It's not for him.
Now, does he cross the start-finish line there to complete a lap? So I think he did actually lead 1 lap as he crossed the start-finish line there. So into the box comes Ricciardo in what is based off of the That's a more set of hard tyres. It's based off of the 2016 Sauber, I think.
We have a nice, except for Exolite and my car, very nice grid of distinct vehicles.
Yeah, it's a good-looking grid this season, as I nearly jumped Lewis Hamilton, did Daniel Ricciardo, because he's right behind him. And Ricciardo, if his new tyres work quite well, he's on for a podium, as Grosjean versus Verne. Verne yet to stop in 6th place, has got a rampant Grosjean right behind him. And yeah, Ricciardo looking very good. He's looking at Hamilton's 3rd place in this race.
With the defensive line there from Hamilton. Let's see if he loses the position for that.
Yeah, he's under pressure, so Andrew Racing looking very good for a podium finish. If Ricciardo can do something about that, that's not the place to overtake, and nearly gets his front right wheel ripped off.
Joey Mitchell would not have been very satisfied with that either.
And you better be careful because Alonso's not too far behind either. So we've got a 3-way scrap for the final place on the podium. Now, is he going to make a dive bomb Daniel into Interlagos? Not quite, so he's going to have to wait until the end of this lap, but looking very quick.
Although that makes me think he might attempt to dive in the upcoming corners before waiting for the Senna S. And thanks to editing, I'm proven wrong.
So where's he going to go? Again, at the wrong place, and that's going to give Alonso an opportunity. Now Alonso's in the slipstream of Ricciardo, and he's going to have a look. Is he brave on the brakes? He is quite brave on the brakes, but Ricciardo now has the inside for the left part of the right part of the corner, and he's maintained that 4th place just about.
Hamilton definitely got lucky there with Ricciardo being a little too impatient.
A little too eager, but he's a little bit further back now, and now this is the best opportunity that Ricciardo has.
Oh, he's going to make it.
Up the inside now. Hamilton trying to hang on, and now he's got the inside for the right, but Ricciardo gets it. 3rd place. Now Hamilton's got Alonso right behind him, and looking good to try and snatch 4th place off of the 3-time champion. This is 3-time champion versus 3-time champion, interestingly enough. And up to 4th goes Alonso.
Very clean, good pass. Now this makes me think about the new for this year. We have on testing options, different kind of race or qualifying benefits. And I believe the first race, you could see the lack of changes in the front part of the grid, possibly impacted by folks focusing on weekend setup benefits versus more extended long-term perspective development of their cars. And I wonder if we're seeing that here in the early rounds of the season.
Maybe, and as I say, I wonder if Pedersen are going particularly qualifying heavy, because now he's under pressure from Daniel Ricciardo, looking to take 2nd place off of him. This would be something. And not quite there, but he's got a good chance going into Interlagos.
But with Pedersen, you have to remember that if it makes sense, it probably wasn't that choice.
Now right up the back of Rosberg, and he's got a good run now this time. Is Ricciardo going to take 2nd? Brake late? He is indeed. Daniel Ricciardo up into 2nd. So now it's climax 1 and 2. Gonzalez 12 seconds in the lead now.
Ricciardo already opening a little bit of a gap.
Yeah, on the newer tyres compared to Rosberg. Rosberg came into the pits at the end of lap 19. Ricciardo about lap 24. So Ricciardo's newer tyres definitely paying off as Verstappen versus Felipe Massa for 15th place.
That's opening the door for the Gojira.
Jean-Eric Verne looking to try and take that position off of Verstappen.
Now, the only downside of upgrading the aero to wooden parts is that the tires were also replaced from rubber to wood, as we can see in this race.
The hard compound, so it's very, very hard mahogany wood.
Rich mahogany. looks beautiful, doesn't perform the greatest.
Rosberg versus Alonso for third. Interlagos, that's third place for Fernando Alonso. So now we've got a Megatron on the podium, 2 climaxes followed by a Megatron. That's very different compared to Melbourne, which saw an all-Mugen maelstrom on the podium. Half distance, and, well, I think Van Dorn has retired from the race somewhere because he's still showing from having made 0 pit stops. And if he was 2-stopping like the rest of the field, he would have made his pit stop by now, so I don't think Van Dorn's running.
I remember when Ricciardo made his pit, we did have other pit crews waiting. They were triggered. I wonder if we're going to see an extended shot if the pit crews are still out.
As Grosjean versus Hamilton. So Hamilton definitely struggling on his older tyres now, as he's got Grosjean looking to take 5th place away.
Yeah, Rosberg and Hamilton with the first pit stop definitely maybe a few laps too soon with their fuel load as well.
And with Hamilton on that heavier fuel load as well, that's going to have a double impact, it seems.
His only hope, well, the hopes of everybody doing 20 laps in the last stint will be to just have a significant benefit of the fresher tires and the less fuel load, but we'll see how that goes.
Yes. So, again, the top 8 remaining fairly unchanged since the start of the race. I'm just trying to keep an eye out on the progress of Lee and Latifi to see if there is a battle for the final points, but not at this stage. So, through the final few corners, Hamilton versus Grosjean. Grosjean trying the outside, and he's going to get his nose chopped off if he's not careful. Now he's back into the slipstream, switching to the inside, the dummy. And is he brave on the brakes? No, he's not. Being a bit patient, but...
There's a good little bit of fighting between the two.
And again, Grosjean thinking about outbraking Hamilton into Interlagos, but not making that one work. And now he's got Sergio Perez closing in, so... Oh, Latifi's just taken Lee for 8th place somewhere. And there's a replay of the overtake. Into Interlagos, Latifi's into the points. So he has got some race pace. And now Grosjean, once again, looking at Hamilton's 5th place. He's got a much better run this time. Hamilton trying to defend.
No chance.
No chance for Hamilton to defend that one. Now he's got Sergio Perez for company. I think Perez might be able to do something about it. Going through Curva du Sol into the slipstream, and surely will be looking to make the overtake stick into Interlagos. Watching it in slow motion somehow, but into fast motion now. Up to 6th place goes Sergio Perez. It's also I think it's worth mentioning, like the top 8 only separated by less than half a minute, so hasn't spread out as much as before, as Latifi versus Hamilton for 7th. Look at Latifi.
Oof. Wow.
He's really on the move, and that's a lap shake and bake in amongst there. That must be Yoshida, who's really struggling.
Yeah, I think this definitely possibly speaks to the Peterson aero, or potentially the tire grip quality.
And depending on if Latifi took part in the first practice session, whether he chose to concentrate on race setup. So that can give you good benefits.
Yeah, I wonder if we're going to get a little bit of a change of that for next season, because those percentages may be a little too overpowering if you complete enough laps versus folks who may not feel like that. But we shall see.
Yeah, or maybe the percentages were already like that before, but we're only getting access to it now. But I've never had good luck with that.
Are you sure? Because looking at the stands, and I see Magnussen and Hülkenberg are doing very well ahead of Yoshida in a car that disappeared. So don't put your stuff down.
Well, I haven't done any setup boosts for this particular race. Just trying to keep up with the aero work, and for this one I did do some engine management. it doesn't speak well because I must admit I am running full ERS, the full 100%, and if that's the impact it's having, then it's not going to work at all.
But which tires are you running this race?
Mediums.
Oof. Okay. I was hoping you'd say hards because at least could give yourself a little.
Oh
excuse.
no! Latifi!
Oh, he's missing one of the tires.
He's crashed it and all. Oh, that's a shame. Pushing too hard. Now, where's he crashed out? Is that Ferradura?
It's gonna go wide.
The exit of Ferradura is going to have a big spin, and there's no grip on that, and smashed, and it's both front wheels gone. That was a clumsy one. That was from 5th place as well.
Yeah, showing his full breadth of skill here as he goes off track because it's clearly a better line, but then it wasn't.
Yeah, you'd think with the tarmac runoff on the outside it would offer some decent grip, but obviously not. Very bumpy and straight into the wall. Fernando Alonso coming into the pits from what was 2nd place, but with others having made pit stops, not quite a genuine 2nd place.
Now we're in the 20 laps to go basically, as you see another team getting right for a pit stop.
That must be the FJR actually. Both of them have still got 2nd pit stops to make. Magnussen up in 10th. I'm going to savour that before he drops way down the order.
I'll do a print screen for you.
Send that to me via Discord. And where did Alonso rejoin? He rejoined 4th, but with Hamilton still to make a pit stop, that'll become a net 3rd. As Rosberg is now in 5th place, should become a net 4th once Hamilton makes his final pit stop. That mistake of Latifi's, that's put Cooper Lee back into the points, back up in 8th place as Thomas Gonzalez now comes into the pits, as does Kevin Magnussen.
That looked to be a good, clean pit stop.
8.2 seconds, not that quick actually, but he had quite a healthy lead, so I'd expect him to maintain the lead unless Ricciardo's absolutely blitzed his outlaps, because he pitted 6 laps earlier. And the pit exit, is Gonzalez still going to be in the lead? Keep an eye out on the right hand side just in case. Yes, comfortably in the lead as one of your drivers is defending from Max Verstappen.
Now that is a sentence I would not like to hear again.
Hamilton exiting the pits, down in 9th place, even behind Sainz, so that middle stint's really not worked out well for Hamilton.
Yeah, definitely the Mitchell has some work to do between their hard tires and their aero development.
Verstappen versus Kubica.
Now, talking about aero development, to quote your former main engineer, what aero development?
If it's too slow, just increase the power. He was having a look at Kubica through Desida de Lago and not making that one work. Now, Hamilton, on his fresh tyres, and probably the freshest of all the tyres, looking to do something about it in the final stint. First victim, Carlos Sainz for 8th place.
Sizable gap, but we'll see if he can make up the difference on the next on the little straight.
And depending on when Perez pitted, there's a chance of 6th place maybe, but that's quite a big gap to make up in the last 14 laps.
This race is a bit of a reality check that our pre-season beliefs of the Mitchell, how they're going to perform, definitely showing that the harder tires are something for them to be concerned with. And there'll be 7 races of the season, so Hamilton and Cooper Lee have to maximize whenever they run the softs and the mediums.
Yes, and Gonzalez starting another lap on those soft tyres, which Tornado do run quite a lot in particularly pre-season and the practice sessions, so very well developed soft tyres, and at this moment it's paying off well for the young Argentine driver. Oh, they didn't have a particularly good lap last time out. Ricciardo did take 0.6 of a second out of him, so maybe Gonzalez is in traffic as Hamilton versus Sainz and the main straight.
Going for the cross. Might be a little too far.
His next chance is going to have to be into Descida de Lago, exiting the CNRS through the flat-out blast of Curva do Sol. And how much of a slipstream has Hamilton got? He doesn't look particularly close at this stage, but here comes the slipstream. Not close enough this time. He's going to have to wait another lap. Up the hill towards Ferradura, where Latifi crashed out at the exit of this corner a few laps ago, costing Pedersen valuable points. And especially if Pedersen have got a good car and looking to challenge for Constructors' Championship glory, then that's not what they needed, Latifi crashing.
We'll see if they do replace Latifi mid-season or not with Sam Bird.
Sam Bird's a decent driver. He had a couple of seasons with Horizon in 2012 and 2013 and didn't do too badly. And these days he raced in FF1M last season and was an outside chance for the championship, but James Clark was just a little bit too good in the end.
We'll see if it does make the jump to FF1M next season. Talking about the jump, we see the gap from Grosjean to Rosberg is 0.8 of a second, so we should be seeing the Frenchman approaching Nico, possibly for the move in the next couple of laps.
And as we've seen, Exolite's looking quite quick. Alonso just 10.6 seconds behind race leader Gonzalez. And Exolite, if they have gone aggressive for this race, so far it's paid off. It did come unglued towards the end of the Australian Grand Prix, so fingers crossed for Exolite. And by the way, behind Hamilton is Valtteri Bottas, but he's some 19.1 seconds behind, so he's going to need Hamilton and Sainz to collide with each other. And look at the gap, Ricciardo and Alonso, just 1.9 seconds. There could yet be a battle for second.
I would definitely favor Alonso on that one. And the gap Rosberg to Grosjean dropped to just over 0.6.
Still getting closer between Rosberg and Grosjean. Perez just 2.1 seconds behind Grosjean.
And Hamilton should be able to make a move now.
Surely this time, exiting Curva do Sol. And that's a good run, good power, and good brakes. Up into 8th goes Lewis Hamilton. Next target, 1.8 seconds up the road. And it's his teammate, Cooper Lee. These two collided with each other last season at Monza. And Lee responded to that by spinning him deliberately.
As one would.
Yeah, very unprofessional of me to laugh my head off, but it was quite funny. Now then, 4th place. Rosberg versus Grosjean into a CNRS, and Grosjean late on the brakes, and he's got it. 4th place for Grosjean. And it'd be a good haul of points for Exolite, 3rd and 4th, 11 points.
If they make the next 9 laps.
If they make the next 9 laps with what was a very fragile Megatron engine in pre-season.
Oh, and Cooper definitely under some pressure now from Lewis.
Lee versus Hamilton for 7th. That's through Mergulo, the dive, now into Junsao. And then the long run.
Oh, he looks like he's close enough for the draft.
In the slipstream. And Perez has just taken Rosberg as well for 5th, so Rosberg dropping another position. As Hamilton up the inside. Oh, nearly contact. Very aggressive defence from Cooper Lee. He's going to have to try and be aggressive again, because Hamilton's got a good slipstream.
He should have it now.
How much is Cooper going to move over?
Although he pulled off a little early.
And that's 7th place for Hamilton. Under brakes for in the Descida de Lago corner. Now, though, we might get a replay of this. Here it is. Rosberg versus Perez.
Very committed move by Perez.
And a stern defence from Rosberg, but Perez not having any of that and up into 5th place. So now we've got Tornadoes 1st and 5th as Lee is about to be passed by Sainz going into Descida del Lago, but Lee hanging on round the outside. So interesting enough, Sainz looking to get GRM's first point of the season.
It's looking good if can.
Sorry, go ahead.
Cooper Lee went a little wide there, so the Mitchell struggling to twist a bit.
Yeah, I wonder if it was an earlier pit stop for Cooper Lee, and as a result struggling a little bit on older tyres. Or it could be the Mitchell setup.
That's a better entry in the last corner.
Too good though if he's going to have a look into the pit lane, which, as we've seen, is not the best place to overtake, and he's nearly shunts it into the wall. He's going to have to wait until the exit of this, and if he gets a good run out of here, then he is in good place to take 8th place off of Cooper Lee. Going on board, it's not too bad.
A little too far back.
Could be a little bit too far back. And just looking a bit further down the order, I think somewhere Verstappen has taken Kubica for 16th place. And a little bit further back than that, 2 FJRs, 18th and 19th, Yoshida 20th. So at least I'm not last, as Sainz looks for the last point. Up the inside, and he's got it this time.
Made it stick.
That's 8th place for Carlos Sainz, on course to take GRM's first point of the season. Now then, Ricciardo versus Alonso.
Let me see. Yeah, Ricciardo losing plenty of time compared to Gonzalez. Alonso making up that gap, maintaining it. So I don't think there's anything Daniel can do.
Yeah, Ricciardo was one of the first of the 2 stoppers to make his second pit stop, and just starting to fade away now as Alonso looks to challenge for 2nd place. Great race pace from the Exolites because they were on the 4th row of the grid, and once again, it's not the best place to overtake.
But still close enough. He should be able to take the spot exiting the center curve.
And exiting the center curve, going through the sun curve in the slipstream. Looks pretty good. Here comes the slipstream.
He'll be tight, but he's gone aggressive. Oof.
Ricciardo,
defending.
He wants that 2nd place, does Ricciardo. So it's going to have to be on the last lap. And that should be good. Good to see if Alonso does take him on the last lap. Like a last lap overtake. Ricciardo missing the apex.
A little tighter through the corners for Alonso.
Yeah, Ricciardo definitely struggling with his tyres now. There's a lapped Willows in there, that's Max Verstappen in 16th place. And then into Junsao, but starting his final lap now is Thomas Gonzalez.
Just a very easygoing, peaceful race for the Tornado, and Alonso might have... No, that could have been it, but he's still close enough that he should be able to get Ricciardo by the next back straight.
Depends how aggressive on the defence Ricciardo goes. Let's see the run exiting Curva do Sol. Looks pretty good for Alonso. Ricciardo, I think he might have seen it a bit too late. But he's hanging on. Look at that. Good on you, Daniel.
Wow.
Not that I'm trying to show any bias.
I wonder if we'll see contact between the two.
Maybe.
There's still time for an explosion as well.
And there is Gonzalez. Ever since he took the race lead from Nico Rosberg in the early stages, he's controlled that pretty much, and good strategy from Tornado. Pit stops at the right moment, and this is his first career FF1M win, and the first fictional driver to win an FF1M race. That's Thomas Gonzalez's first win of the season. Tornado back on the top step of the podium.
And the local crowd definitely will be very happy with an Argentinian winning the race.
Oh, Grosjean! He's crashed out of the race. Where's that happened? Let's have a look. It's Ferradura once again. And once again wide. And
he was jealous of Latifi and was having none of it.
Dearie me.
That was a beautiful copy.
Absolutely. Both front wheels off again and down the ditch.
And kept on going. Well, that's a determined driver.
Well, that's blotted the Exolite copybook, but Ricciardo, well, he's still trying to defend from Alonso.
Alonso on the outside.
Oh, that is close, but Ricciardo just hangs on by less than a tenth of a second. Andrew Racing get a very well-deserved podium, and Alonso an equally well-deserved podium finish. So there's confirmation. Thomas Gonzalez wins from Daniel Ricciardo second, and Fernando Alonso third for the Exolite, and climax from Megatron as well, so very different from the first race of the season, and another climax fourth in the form of Sergio Perez, who would be pretty pleased with that gift that Roman Grosjean handed to him.
Very interesting to see as well the result of the final grid with the tires used by the drivers.
Absolutely, and from pole position, Rosberg slipping down to fifth. Pedersen seemingly set up too much for qualifying, and completing the top 8, Lewis Hamilton, Sainz 7th, that's a deserved result for GRM, and Cooper Lee 8th. And there you can see the rest of them. And again, no reliability problems. 3 crashes, essentially, one for Van Dorn, one for Latifi, and one on the very last lap for 12th place classified Grosjean.
Not bad. An eventful Grand Prix. A couple of good moves, but definitely showing perhaps what to expect for this season with the free practice setup options.
Perhaps so. So, Nico Rosberg still leads the Drivers' Championship, but now it's Thomas Gonzalez who rockets up to second for Tornado, and Daniel Ricciardo third, just 3 points behind Rosberg. And 2 Mitchells, 4th and 5th. And if they're going to challenge for the championship, maybe they could look at some race setup for free practice, or maybe just some general car development. Who knows? But Mitchell are second in the championship, 1 point behind Tornado, and Pedersen third. Andrew Racing fourth, and there's 6 points separating those 4 teams. And you can see further down, the 2 teams which were expected to struggle are doing just that. Willows 10th and FJR 11th.
It builds character.
It's character building, yes, as well as the developments that I'll inevitably be doing. And we move over from the American leg, just the one race in South America. We head over to Europe and the European Grand Prix, which will be held at the Nürburgring. So from the 2 of us, we shall see you for then.
Farewell, folks.